Baby Will Ferrell was raised in the North Pole, but now that he's all grown up, he heads to New York City to find his biological father. What follows is a festive fish out of water story with all of the hijinks that you might expect. Join us as we discuss Elf. Welcome everyone to the Collector's Cut. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
This is a movie podcast, and we are wrapping up Christmas season. We're merely days away from Christmas by the time this goes out, if I am correct in my thinking. And we are wrapping up with the final of the 4 votes we had on Patreon for a more modern Christmas film, and the winner of that vote was Elf from 2003, which is notably already 22 years ago, so time is flying, but still feels relatively modern in the sense compared to all the other things. So
I specifically looked up the ages of our male and female leads here, just because there's a scene in the middle and I was like, what's the age gap there? But to see that, like, yeah, Zooey Deschanel as the female lead was like 21 in this movie, and she's 45 now. That's, dear God, time, please stop. I don't need you to move so quickly.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does. I just hate to see those numbers ticking their way up.
Yeah. A couple of the older actors in this movie have passed away in the last couple of years. Like James Caan died in 2022. Papa Elf, Bob Newhart, he died just last year. So, made it to an okay age, but but in his case, he made it to a very good age. But it's just time moves on. It's already been 20 plus years. So yes, Elf is a movie about a boy who's accidentally an orphan, specifically, not someone who's got a family, but he sneaks into Santa's bag as a baby, ends up in the North Pole, and is raised by elves. But the story mainly revolves around when he, at the age apparently of about 30, decides to go back to New York to find his real father, played by James Caan. And obviously Will Ferrell is the titular elf in the film, with Zooey Deschanel being the female lead, and there's a couple other faces in here that are recognisable that we'll bring up a little bit later. But we will start spoiler free, just in case you don't know the movie. We'll give you warning before we get into the spoilers. And of course, if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please do hit the like button. It helps us out a bunch if you do. Give us 5 stars on your podcast app. And if you want to support the show, you can do that via Patreon or YouTube membership and get some bonuses, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So, all right, let's just get this out of the way. I think Will Ferrell's painfully unfunny, right? I'm just going to say up front.
Oh my God.
Right? I had seen this once before, but the only reason why I had seen it is because when I was in university, or college technically in this case, but people were appalled. They were like gasping when I said I hadn't seen Elf, to the point where they basically arranged an in-class stay movie viewing of Elf just so I would have to sit and watch it. And every so often, as I was watching it, they'd be turning and looking at me with these big grins in their faces to see if I was smiling or laughing at the events that were happening. And it was like, I can only compare it to like when your super religious friend takes you to like a church, and they keep looking at you like, oh, he's going to find God any moment now. He's going to find God. He's going to be converted at any moment.
Are you telling me you don't believe in elfology, Peter?
So I'm getting that out front because, frankly, it's going to color my overall feeling and entertainment value of this movie. Because if I don't like Will Ferrell, if I don't think he's funny, then a lot of the comedy in this movie is not going to work for me. So let's just get that out of the way right now.
Fair. For me, Will Ferrell is a lot closer to an Adam Sandler type, where I think he's capable of good performances, and there are some times where I do think he actually is funny, but I think the vast majority of his stuff is just kind of to actively bad for me. But I will say there are bright spots for the actor.
We'll see if those bright spots are in the film Elf, which we are preparing to discuss here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll get into our general feelings, I guess, and we'll take it from there. So, David, how do you feel about Elf?
Well, this is one that more so than any of the other films we've watched this season, I did like actually grow up on. This is one that I wouldn't say that I ever put on, but was always just, I think it was TBS, which is a network that owned the rights, and it would just come on every Christmas time. And it was, I think that this movie is kind of in that same vein as A Christmas Story, where it's just disconnected enough that you can kind of drift in and out of it, and you don't really need to know anything that's going on in the story. And in that way, it's great Christmas viewing because you're doing other stuff at Christmas time. You don't have to worry about what's on TV, and you can just catch in for, oh, look at that. He's eating yet another syrupy, sugary snack again. In terms of my actual opinion of it this time around, sitting down to watch it beginning to end, I think it's okay. I don't hate it. I think that in terms of getting across like a Christmas vibe, in terms of like doing a good job as a Christmas movie, I think it does a great job there. It's very simple in its formula. It gets across the idea of like, Buddy has an unlimited amount of Christmas cheer. He goes to an area, specifically to a family, his father, that does not have that. And then we see how he just slowly infects them with his positivity until it all manages to turn around and you get a good Christmas ending out of that. I think top down, it's a good Christmas movie. Comedy-wise, I think it speaks to the era. I'm going to say that. I think this stuff was actually like right up there in 2003. Like it was like, yep, Will Ferrell's at the top of his game doing tons of funny stuff. But I think the humor aged similar to that of Borat, where it's like, it was of the time. You had to be there for it to really like land as well as it did. So overall, I'm going to say I'm past the center point in the needle of positivity, but I recognize the flaws significantly more than like someone saying, what is it? The Rankin Bass ones are the ones that like, I'm not a huge fan of those outside of like, I recognize their Christmas potential, but I think the movies are absolutely just janky as hell. This is one where I guess I'm on the opposite side of that.
I'll start off by saying I think Borat's held up way better. I'm not saying that there's nothing in it that hasn't held up. I'm saying that there's still a lot of bits in that hit. There's still a lot of moments to hit. All right.
Fair enough.
I will say that. Mainly because a lot of the satirical elements still hit as satire, because none of those real world things have changed. So the points are still being making.
Stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with the Christmassy part of it. I do think that the Christmas plot feels like it. I won't say it comes out of nowhere in the third act, because that's not entirely true. But it does kind of feel like once he gets to the city, it becomes a series of sketches of him just being a fish out of water, doing silly stuff, and comedy, allegedly, is ensuing. And then once it gets to the third act and it's time to, like, you know, we have to actually have a plot now to wrap up the movie with, then the last, 20 minutes or so does a plot. And it's like, okay, this is fine. There's some fine Christmas vibes, and, the idea of, I don't think it's a spoiler to say we're saving Christmas, because that tends to be the plot of these types of movies.
What? No.
So that side of it's fine. It's perfectly good. And, James Caan is a good actor. I think he has a good presence. Every scene he's in, I think he's the anchor of everything. I know nerds of a certain age are all goo-goo-eyed for Zooey Deschanel. And admittedly, she doesn't have her bangs in this, and she's a blonde, so I don't know if all the weird perverts out there are as excited this time, but...
Didn't do anything for me. Completely not Zooey Deschanel. How dare she?
But I don't know if it was memory, because I'd kind of forgotten most of the movie, to be honest, or if it was just because I knew she was in this, but her part's actually a lot smaller than I think I remembered.
Yeah. I feel like that was it for most characters in this movie. Just going back to it with the memory, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember James Caan being like, all throughout this movie, like a major driving force. And like he's kind of a secondary character, but he wasn't a major driving force. And I would even argue that by the time we hit the third act, it's all about the characters that Buddy has touched. So Buddy himself kind of just falls into the background.
I mean, I think there's a weird point you made there. I actually do think James Caan's clearly the central focus figure outside of Buddy. Like, he's clearly the one that the plot's revolving around. Everything does kind of flow through him. He is the second lead of this movie. It is not Zooey Deschanel. That was my takeaway from this.
Right.
It's not even like close, in fact, because when I saw their names, like, and he was like second billed, I saw not even cynically. I just went, oh yeah, it's because he's James Caan, but it's not because his character is the second biggest. But then no, he is. He's absolutely the second lead of this movie. Zooey Deschanel is absolutely a supporting character in every sense of the word. I mean, she after her introduction, she disappears for half an hour as we're just doing other buddy stuff. She's something that. I guess I remembered the romance being more of like a central through line and not like just a subplot we just kind of dip back into for a bit, and then that's kind of it. Like that, because that's ends up what it's being. But the comedy, the comedy is the thing that I do not particularly find funny, and it's not like I find it offensive. I just don't like it. So there's just a lot of scenes where I was just kind of. Blank stare. And I remember watching this in a class of people who were all determined to think that I'll be converted and think it's the best thing ever, and them turning to look at me to see if I was laughing, and the disappointment on their face as I was just sitting there, just completely blank expression the entire time. They'd even be tempted to laugh.
So I guess the big one here, if we're looking at the style of humor, I think the defining point of the humor of this movie is his arrival in New York. There's a whole montage of him just going about doing fish out of water stuff. Was that neutral? Was that somewhat negative? Or was that like, I hated this?
I guess I'll say closer to neutral in the sense that I just didn't feel anything for it. That said, though, I was very sick of him eating stupid stuff by a certain point where... Like, this is just disgusting. People eating disgusting stuff is not funny to me. It's never been funny to me. And any movie that does it, I'm always just groaning. Even if I love the rest of the movie, the scene where they eat something stupid for a laugh, I'm amused. I'm just disgusted. But,
No, that's fair. Trivia bit. Apparently the sequence where he put a bunch of sugary stuff on spaghetti and then ate it, he threw up after the first take, so they had to do it again.
I mean, that sounds about right. Yeah, that's I can't say I'm surprised by that factoid. So yes,
I just feel bad for him. He just finishes it and then he's like, "All right, we got to go again. You threw up too soon."
Serves him right, the hack. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I feel very disconnected because even though this came out when I was 14, so I was maybe just a little bit old for this to hit in the proper childhood part of my life. Obviously, I was still a kid, but like I wasn't, young enough to be like, the magic of Christmas was still kind of there. So that was kind of missed in that sense, and I didn't really like Will Ferrell even at that point. I didn't think I liked him. This was a year after I think Anchorman was a year later. Than Elf. But I remember also thinking Anchorman was painfully unfunny, and everyone seemed to love that damn movie, and I was just...
So that's what I was kind of getting at with the humor aspect of it, is that I think, when I was mentioning Borat and stuff like that, is there was a period of time where essentially the funniest stuff was the stuff that was a single recognizable line that you could just repeat over and over and over. Borat had the "my wife" and the "not" and all that sort of stuff. I feel like Elf has a lot of those same aspects to it. A lot of those same, like, here's something funny that Will Ferrell says that's like a single line that we can just repeat over and over again. And then to go to Anchorman, that movie's made of them. That movie is nothing but single lines that is just, here we go. We can repeat these ad nauseum.
Yeah. It's so weird though, because I'm watching this movie and I'm like, okay, it's got this kind of storybook style presentation to start it off, and it's doing a relatively sweet enough story. But as soon as Will Ferrell appears, and as soon as it's about him being bigger than all the other elves because he's a human being, and so on, and we get to the fish out of water stuff, I'm just kind of like, I'm just, like, it's not like painful. I don't think it's a terrible movie by any stretch. It's very competent in every way. I just don't think the comedy's very funny. And I think if the comedy was funny, if that was working for me, I can see why someone would like this quite a bit. But as it is, I feel like a great big slab of indifference to it is best I can do.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a thing where I feel like the opening, the very beginning, as we're getting sort of the backstory on elves and how he came there, is actually like written comedy. It's clever and like trying to make points of like, yeah, there's like 3 different type of elves, and they show like a scene of Cobbler's elves and then a scene of Keebler's elves, and they like actually do jokes about it. Whereas Will Ferrell's brand of comedy feels a lot more of, it's just his intention, his emotion. If you literally wrote down what was being said, there's nothing funny about what's happening. It's just the way he's performing it. And that's going to be hit or miss a lot more than something that's actually like clever and well-witty writing.
Well, and that's the thing though, is that, I mean, you're right in saying that that's what works for some people, but because that's like, take for example him getting excited that Santa's coming and jumping up and down with all the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
On paper, I can see why that's supposed to be funny, but I just don't think Will Ferrell's delivery of it makes it funny to me. Like, I think he, right, like, he's the anti-funny to me when he does it. But there's probably other actors who could have done that moment where it would have made me laugh, depending on how they pulled it off. So, yeah. So part of this might just be a taste thing. I mean, I don't know. Like, I've always found Will Ferrell painfully unfunny, so I don't know. But take that for what you will. Bias has been outspoken up front. I can't do any more than that.
Fair enough. As long as you rate it above a 7, that's the only thing that we need.
Yeah, it's not happening.
No, I will say, if you were talking before about whether or not this was a bright spot, in my opinion, of Will Ferrell, I'm going to say yes. I think that there's moments in this that work for me and moments that don't. It is a lot more of like stretching the line. I think my bigger issues come from how slow it feels at times, how much it feels just like nothing is happening for the longest time. And then, like you said, all of a sudden it's like, oh, third act, we just need to introduce a save Christmas sort of thing, where nothing that came beforehand really matters all that much. It's just, we're throwing this in there for the sake of having an exciting third act. And for that point, I think that the movie is, as I said, perfect television, like drifting in and out watching, where all these sequences can be shuffled up. You don't really need to have a through line to them until you hit the third act. And by that point, I was kind of like, all right, well, we're wrapping up here. And it is a very short third act.
Yeah.
It is like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think a better script would have like made a lot of the payoff of the various characters that get involved in the third act feel like it was capping off their stories as opposed to just being kind of whatever. Like, I'm just going to say it. This is no Ernest Saves Christmas. I'm just, that's all I'm saying. You know what I mean, Vern?
I've never seen it.
Did you get what? So you don't get the reference when I say, do you know what I mean, Vern?
I feel like I've seen the clip before, but it's been a while.
It's something that he said in a bunch of, like, Ernest the character said in a bunch of his different movies. Right. It was the thing. Mm-hmm. Now, I've not seen any Ernest movies in a good, maybe 25 years at this point. It's been a long ass time.
Hint, hint for the next season of Collector's Cut.
Oh God, that Ernest scene. First of all, there's like 12 of the bloody things, so that would be like a 3-month odyssey of Ernest P. Whirl. That would be insane.
Our subscriber count just explodes. Everyone was waiting for the Ernest channel.
I mean, I'd say implode. I think with my expectation, it would be halving, I think, as that season rolled on. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh, I guess we need to go to spoilers, because I don't know if I've got much more to say in a general sense, really.
One thing we always, well, not always, but I will say the main theme of this, like main Christmas sounding theme, I think is very well done. Like, it is something that sticks in my head. I recognize it as a Christmas theme. It does a great job of just a couple notes and it just works. So I'll give that kudos.
It's fine. I mean, look, if I'm going to compare like Christmas sounding like score in a movie to something, it's going to be Home Alone, and like that, if that's a 10, this is like a 6, but fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going Home Alone, yeah, of course it is. Like, absolutely. But the Christmas spectrum is very different in terms of, like, you can have something that, like, really resonates as a Christmas song, and then you can have utter abject failures. And I think this is closer to the good side.
Yeah, 6 is closer to the positive end, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just wanted to mention I believe the head elf or one of the head elves in the movie is the kid from Christmas Story. So they were just pulling that back for no reason.
Well, I mean, no, I get the cameo reason for it. It's it's a popular Christmas movie. So Culkin was busy, I guess. But yes,
he's just setting off bombs in the background. He's a naughty elf.
He's on the defense force for the North Pole. He's like the military of the North Pole, protecting everything.
When Buddy tries to leave to go to New York, he's sitting there with a little gate in the toll booth saying like, where's your papers?
All right, we'll get into spoilers for Elf. You have been warned. We're going to dive right in. So here we go. Yeah, I mean, actually, what do you want to talk about? I don't know what I want to start with.
All right, well, I mean, we'll start at the beginning. The framing device, theoretically, is we have Bob Newhart as Papa Elf, who is sitting down to tell us a story about the elves and Buddy and all that stuff. And it's there for probably, I don't know, 15 minutes at the beginning, right up until he leaves to go to New York. And then it's just gone. However, it's not a thing where, oh, that's the point he leaves the story and then there's nothing else, because he comes back at the end where he's like, and that's the story of Buddy. I was kind of, I don't remember it being throughout the movie, but I was kind of expecting it to be. Like, that seems like the sort of thing where he would just chime in with little helpful tidbits of knowledge every once in a while.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see him again like during the middle, but I could have seen like some narration coming in occasionally to being like, right. Oh, so Buddy was at his lowest, his father hated him, so he tried to lift his spirits by going to a magical land, cut to him at the store where he's playing with toys or something. I don't know.
Yeah, anything like that. That's exactly what I would have expected. But no, it just completely drops out. And then it's like, oh, yeah, remember, Bob Newhart's in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, all the stuff with Dale, I mean, obviously it's all size jokes. It's all, he's so much bigger than everyone else, so he doesn't fit into the chairs. He's not as good at building stuff as the others. Although when he gets into the real world, he does seem to be much better at everything Christmas related than the humans are. So I don't know if it's like a scale or what, but, for example, in the snowball fight, he like makes 50 snowballs in like 5 seconds and then fires them like a machine gun. And I'm like, you sure he doesn't have elf special powers? Because it feels like he's got elf special powers.
For me, this strikes me on like the superhero scale sort of thing. Like, Batman is ridiculously strong compared to normal people, but he's nothing compared to Superman, because Superman's just a different race entirely. I feel like he's the Batman level here, where he's maxed out on Christmas skills as much as he can be for a human.
I am the Silent Knight. No? Okay.
No, I like it. I'm trying to think of something to follow it up. I just nailed it too hard on one.
Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, like, all this North Pole stuff at the start, it's like, it's perfectly fine. It's kind of, I feel like North Pole stuff in movies tends to be, because we did the Santa Claus trilogy, right, back in the day. That was like our second season ever in Collector's Cut. And I remember that being kind of some of my least favorite parts. Like, I guess just because they have to go full whimsy with it, because it's like, hey, it's Winter Wonderland, and it's always the same kind of jokes where the elves are working hard for the toys and they're treating it very seriously, and so on and so on. The one important thing they do set up here, which becomes the entire third act plot, is that the sled does have like a sort of rocket engine. But now, it used to not need that. It used to be powered purely on Christmas cheer, but the Christmas cheer only gets them to about 30% these days, because so many people don't believe in Santa. So he needs the rocket power to get around the world. And I was like, okay.
Makes sense.
Right, that's set up for later, fine. Obviously, we're going to spread Christmas cheer. That's clearly what the intent of the final part of the movie is going to be. But, it's almost like... It feels weird to compare it to Rocky, right? But... hear me out. So,
all right.
One of the things about Rocky is that throughout the course of the movie, you see how he's a good influence on everyone around him, right? He's trying to help the girl. And he doesn't always succeed, but he's always trying. And he's always trying to make things a little bit better for everyone around him, including even Polly, who's the worst. And he's doing his best, right? But it's sort of like throughout the movie, it feels like a through line, as opposed to, I think what this movie does, where it feels like he just kind of, it's like, oh, like this one little girl at the doctor's office, like, has been inspired by him, or kind of thing, or it feels very like it's tap dancing around committing to the bit where, oh, he's going to like be a positive influence in everyone. Like, I don't know. It feels like maybe they kind of missed the boat a little bit on like him actually being a positive effect for Christmas throughout the movie, so that at the end it felt like, yeah, he's earned the fact that all these people show up to help bolster Christmas.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying, and I agree. I think that makes it so that he's not a force for purely good. It feels like he's more of a bumbling idiot character rather than someone who's like actually trying to help things along. But I do think that the intention that we were getting across here is that he's so pure in his belief and desire and love for Christmas that the point of it is making every other character look at that with suspicion and like, what is wrong with you sort of stuff, to show like they're so foreign to the idea of Christmas cheer. And so it takes a lot to really break down those walls and do whatever. But obviously by the end of the movie, he manages to get through to pretty much everybody through absolutely no doing of his own.
No.
It just so happens the situation evolves it into that.
I think the difference, and the reason why I compare it to Rocky is because I feel like the whole idea of Rocky is that by the time you get to the end of that movie, the entire city of Philadelphia is rooting for him because he's in their hearts. And I think the movie does a really good job in that case of like selling that idea throughout, so that when they all start rooting for him at the end, even the loan shark dude that he works for, it's like, yeah, you kind of feel like everyone's on his side. Here, it's kind of like, he is a bumbling idiot. It feels like, well, he's well-intentioned by and large. Like, the entire thing kind of hinders on just James Caan feeling bad when he gets mad at him. It's like afterwards, like, oh, I told him to get lost. I feel a bit sad now. Maybe I'm a horrible father. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So
I'd say there's only one bit where it feels, well, two bits, because he does do a good job of transitioning the rest of the family, James Caan excluded. He does a good job of like, before the movie's done, they're all in on Buddy. They're like, yep, Buddy is great. We love having him around. The only other group that I feel like scene-wise it worked was there's a section where he goes down to the mailroom of his dad's business. Yes. And that feels like he very intentionally was spreading Christmas cheer, and it was working to make all of them like him. That was the only section where it felt like it was actually going through that motion rather than him just being himself and bumbling through it.
Yeah, because, he floats to New York after he finds out that he's not an elf, right? He overhears that he's not really an elf, and I'm like, really? It never occurred to him that maybe, just maybe, he's a little different to everyone else? Which, actually, just one question. They said that no human before him had ever set his foot in the North Pole. I'm like, what's Santa? Is Santa not a human?
Santa's a god. Okay. Santa's evolved past the needs of the flesh or whatever it is.
I mean, Santa's a normal size. Well, normal size plus, some pies.
That's the bit that got me, was like, they follow up the line of him finding out and saying like, oh, he never realized he was human, with him literally standing in front of Santa and saying like, I gotta go find my dad. And it's like, you never once considered that you look more like Santa than you do any other person that you ever rolled across in your entire life.
Yeah, but he floats off out to New York. It just kind of, we get
the candy cane forest and the gumdrop valley and whatever.
We get a montage. It's all whatever, but he ends up in New York just kind of magically. Montage ensues of just various things. Like, he sees a sign saying "World's Best Coffee," so he goes in and congratulates them on achieving the world's best coffee. Just little things like that. When he goes into a store and he goes to the bathroom, he's sticking his head over the bathroom stall and saying, hey, have you seen the size of these toilets? They're huge, because he's so used to little elf toilets. Which, again, where's Santa shitting? Because I feel like he could have been using Santa's toilet all this time.
Oh, but he's not allowed into Santa's room. Are you kidding me? No way. I do love he is explicitly told by Santa, you're going to find gum in the streets. It's not free candy. Don't eat it. And then there's a specific shot of him just like, yum, free candy.
Disgusting. I know.
It is disgusting.
I can't abide by it. But obviously he goes to James Caan's work. The secretary thinks he's like a Christmas gram. He's there to, like, because he's in this elf costume, so he must be here. He's been sent as a present to sing a song or something.
Also, before he leaves, the main thing that Buddy finds out about his dad is he's on the naughty list.
Of course, yes. Yes, which he does not react well to hearing that.
No. They do a cutaway to show him he's, I guess, a book publisher or like something to do with the writing process somewhere in there.
I think he's like the editor of a children's book publisher, yeah.
But they specifically show him taking the books back from, I assume, an orphanage that has a nun in, just like begging, like, oh no, the children love the books, you can't take them away. And he's like, well, you should have made your payments.
I'm on his side. Don't let the nuns get away with murder. Yeah. Nah.
Christmas time, charity, screw it. Money.
Like, if she agreed to pay a fee for the books and then she didn't pay it, she's in the wrong.
Legally, yes, you're right. But
End of
I'm
discussion.
going to go ahead and just stamp a big Scrooge all over your side.
I'm not
screen.
saying that like people, that these types of companies should not be providing some books for children, the orphans specifically. By all means, they should do it. That's very nice and Christmassy. But if she agreed to pay for something and didn't, then James Caan's in the right, and I will stand up for him.
Fair enough. What about his second thing, where he refuses to do a reprint because the last 2 pages of the book just aren't there?
Oh, that's more of a dick move. That's a mistake. That's his mistake. He should be fixing that.
All right, fair enough.
I'm fair. I'm tough but fair. Okay.
The rule of law means something. Damn it! Am I the only one who listens to the rules?
Rules are reported. So he goes there. He sings a song about being his son, and James Caan's like, "Well, that's weird." And then, of course, Buddy, that's Will Ferrell's character. His name's Buddy. He does mention the name of his mother that he also found out from Papa Elf, and obviously James Caan does recognize that name. He still thinks he's crazy and gets security to throw him out, but later that night when he's at home, he does pull out an old book and looks at a photograph of him and this woman that he met in his college years or whenever it is, and it's like, oh, okay, so that's hit a nerve that he brought up that name, because it's like, well, it'd be one thing if just this crazy man was saying he's my son, but it's another thing that he actually brought up the name of an old girlfriend.
I love the way you're phrasing that, because it makes me just think like, oh yeah, you knew my mother, Martha. Pfft, why did you say that name?
Yeah. Also, so Walter, James Caan's character, has a wife and son, right? Mary Steenburgen, Ted Danson's wife, plays his wife in this. And they've got a son who's like, I don't know, 12, something like that, thereabouts.
He's old enough to be out of the childlike wonder phase, but he's still definitely like early high school at most.
Yeah, I'd probably say junior high if I was to guess, but yeah.
Yeah.
I did think, this is a pair of old parents for a kid this age, because they are like, clearly into their 50s. But so like, that is unheard of that someone has a kid at like 40, but it does feel like, oh damn, you had a kid late.
No, yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, just making up backstory for these characters now, I would think that it was a thing of like, we don't want to have kids. We're both focused on, like, he's focused on his career, whatever like that. And then, oops, it just happened. We didn't expect it to, but they made enough money and maybe the wife was pushing for it. But it definitely does feel like James Caan wanted to have a son.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just a very young, he's a relatively young, given that he's old enough to have a son who's like Will Ferrell age, it's like, oh, he's also got a kid who's like 12-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So that's their side of the setup. But in the meantime, Will Ferrell goes to a department store to, I don't know, because it looks Christmassy.
He gets kicked out of the place, and because of the way he's dressed, they're like, oh yeah, go down to that department store, thinking that like he's one of the elves workers that are around there.
Did you think it was funny how he was scared to go up the escalator?
Strangely enough, no. But there's like, I think the perfume joke in that scene actually works really well for me. Like, I gotta laugh out of that one, where someone's offering up free samples and it's like fruit something, and he's like, oh, of course, spray into his mouth, and he's like, I don't like it.
This offers me a good comparison point, actually. You know how I said that like I could see like other actors doing a lot of this and being funny to me? I'm going to give you a good example, because I just thought of something based on this. Not that I remember this specifically happening, but I could see it happening in this show. Third Rock from the Sun. John Lithgow, the entire family are fish out of water. They're all aliens. But if you give this scene to John Lithgow and I see him screech and yell after he sprays this into his mouth, comedy gold because he's John F. and Lithgow and he's hilarious.
Yeah. That feels unfair, though. Like, of course, if you give it to John Lithgow, it's going to be incredible. Everything that man touches is usually incredible.
I mean, sure. I mean, that's a fair point. But I'm just backing up my earlier point by saying it is all about the actor. It's all about the execution. And I feel like that's a show that it was built on fish out of water and maintained it for seasons of a TV show without ever really getting old. And they kept finding new things to explore and so on and so on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it comes down to your style of humor. I think that Will Ferrell has his audience. I think there's a reason why he keeps getting roles over and over again in comedies. Clearly, he somehow brings in money, but I do think that primarily it's the loudness and over-exuberance that he brings here that's what is intended for the character this time around, whether you like it or not.
So there's a guy here, like a manager of like one of the stores, just assumes that Buddy's one of his employees because of the way he's dressed, even though his elf outfit doesn't look any of the other elf outfits in the store once you see the others. He's
a bad manager.
Oh, he's terrible.
Top to bottom. He's not good at what he does.
No, he's terrible. He insists Buddy get to work, and he mentions Santa's coming the next day, and obviously we're talking about a store Santa, but Buddy thinks it's going to be the real Santa. He's all excited, yada, yada, yada. And he also, of course, sees Zooey Deschanel's character, Jovi, up putting some decorations on the tree, and like light glows in her face. It's this angelic moment where he's fallen in love. And she immediately is like, who's this weirdo staring at me? Who are you? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that stuck out to me about this part of the plot, so the whole thing that happens here is that he ends up staying in the store overnight, like Harry and Marv in Home Alone 2, except not to rob the place. He decides that it's not Christmassy enough for Santa's visit, so he basically gets a bunch of cotton wool, covers everything in what looks like fake snow, puts up more decorations, just does the whole 9 yards. But in the morning, Zooey Deschanel's character comes in and uses the staff locker and bathroom to shower, right? We find out later that her power's been, or hot water's off or something at her apartment, so she's showering at work, whatever, right? She's got a reason. And, well, two things here. One, they literally do the Naked Gun 2.5 joke where she's singing in the shower and he joins in, and eventually he joins in so loud that she hears him. That's literally a scene from Naked Gun 2.5. Remember where the assassin comes in? Yeah, it's a whole thing. So that sticks out to me. But all I could think during this scene was like, how many meetings, how many discussions did they have to fine tune this scene so that it wasn't creepy? Because it isn't. To be fair, like I'm not saying it is creepy. I'm saying they avoided it. But I feel like they had to put an effort because it would be so easy for him walking into the bathroom and she's in the shower for that to feel creepy. And they did avoid it, but I'm sure it took effort.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I think it really does come down to the fact, even editing wise, you have to work at this the whole way up through the movie. Because if at any point Buddy loses his childlike exuberance, if he comes across like an actual adult before this moment, it's creepy. But they managed to maintain it the whole way through, and so by the time we hit here, he's sitting there cross-legged, just enjoying the sound. He's clearly not even trying to like get a peek or anything like that. He's completely separated. I imagine that it took a little bit of work to make sure that all those stars aligned to make it not creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about, oh, that's going to easily feel weird, but they did avoid it, so fair play to them. But I'm sure it took some effort. But
I mean, it also helps that they don't like. Once she says "get out," he's immediately like, "Okay," and just they do it for a comedy bit where he falls on the ground. But like, he's not also sticking around being like, "Why? We could sing more songs. I'll get in with you."
And she even like pulls him up for her afterwards, like, "Hey, why were you in the locker room today? The women's locker room specifically." And he's like, I didn't know you were naked. I just heard you singing. You've got a beautiful voice. It's the most angelic voice I've ever heard. Which, by the way, this whole childlike exuberance is kind of weird given that at the end of the movie there's a time jump and he's got a baby with her. And I'm like, wait, she had sex with this man-child?
Look, there's a reason we skip past that bit. We don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of how it happened.
Has he even had his first erection yet? like by this point in his life.
Maybe she just convinced him, like, oh yeah, no, it's totally normal for me to sleep with other people when we're married. Don't worry about it.
Okay, that's actually better than I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say maybe she convinced him. Like, this is normal, buddy. Don't you worry. Just you lie back. I'll take care of everything.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she would be the more dominant one here. I don't see him doing it.
Dominant, yes, but like I don't know. I just it's a whole thing. They present me with a character who's so like non-sexual that the thought of him engaging in sexual intercourse is actually a little bit disturbing, but you know, fair enough.
But time passes. God knows how long. I mean, Bob Newhart could be any age. He's immortal effectively in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Papa Elf, they said at one point he's like 490 or something like that. Or no, he was 490 when he got let into the workshop. So he maybe, who knows what age he is now.
Significantly. He's thousands of years old.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is whatever. Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, basically, he freaks out because the Santa's not the real Santa, and he confronts him enough that he gets thrown in jail, right? He gets arrested by the police. They phone the police on him.
Yeah, there's also a middle bit somewhere in here where he goes shopping and he picks up a lingerie set because it says for someone special on the sign. And he takes that to mean, oh, my dad is someone special. He'd love this. And so it gets delivered up to his dad's office, and his dad's like, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, I laughed more at you telling me that part than I did when I was watching that part, which is, I don't know what that says, but...
it's funny on paper.
So, yeah, that's what it is. Do you think that's what Jovi wore when they eventually conceived their child?
We're just going to keep going back to that, yeah? All right. For anybody who doesn't know, on Patreon, we do a ratings rundown. One of the things is the Sexual Tension Award. I didn't think we'd have that much to talk about, but apparently we have quite a bit to talk about.
There'll be so much talk in the Sexual Tension. So much talk. So, yeah, I mean, basically, James Caan gets a call about where Buddy is and comes and bails him out, sort of begrudgingly. This is like a minor thing, and it's not it's just something I noticed, is when they're walking down the stairs to leave the police station, I'm pretty sure this is a location that I have seen in several movies and TV shows. There's this kind of like central stairway that goes up to the sides, and then where the exit and the little reception window is. I think this is one of those just like buildings that the movie industry just always go to for things, and I'm like, oh, I reckon. And the only thing that was different about it is that they added like one little metal detector for the door because it's meant to be a police station, and it just made me laugh a little bit because I'm like, I feel like the entrance to a police station would be a little, especially in New York. Like, this is a New York police station. This feels like a tiny building for that, but hey, not a big deal.
I mean, they've also got like tons of police stations around New York. Just like Manhattan alone is like at least 20 of them.
I mean, I know, well, I don't know if it's real, but like, apparently, according to TV, there's a number 99 in Brooklyn, so that maybe gives you an indication of how many there is throughout the four districts. So
I'm actually really curious now. How many police? Was it offices?
Stations?
Stations makes more sense. Stations offices in Manhattan. Doop. According to this, only 22.
That's just Manhattan, though. If you had the four boroughs, all in New York.
No, all of Long Island, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so this is where James Caan, we cut to him telling his wife. And I've got to say, Mary Steenburgen here just immediately takes it in her stride. She's like, you've got another son? That's wonderful. And I'm like, I don't think you should be mad at him because it was something that happened before he met you and he didn't know about it, so it's not like he lied about anything. But I feel like it's still a bit of a shock to the system. Oh, my partner's got an old child that we didn't know about. It's just a lot to take in. But she is just like, oh, that's wonderful. Another son. This is great news.
It feels like there was a scene missing where it is the initial telling and so like, by the way, I have another son. And he has to explain, this was before I ever met you. You did like just understand and he is absolutely, I knew nothing about him. I wasn't keeping this from
to be
you.
fair, all she has to do is take one look at the guy, see his age, and go, "Yeah, that's before we met." So there's no murky room here for interpretation. It's clearly an old flame,
right. But then the bit that actually throws her off, and honestly, he needed to lead with this. He doesn't say it right up until they get to the door, right until they're about to walk in. He says, by the way, he thinks he's an elf, and then they enter in to find out that he's decorated the entire apartment top to bottom with like little paper crafts of snowflakes and stuff like that.
Which reminds me, the reason why he's convinced now that he's his son is because before this scene, they go to the doctor, and
I forgot this scene.
And I'm pretty sure that if you get a paternity test, you don't get the results on the same visit as the blood samples taken. I'm pretty sure you need to wait a little while, but
nah. It's the same people who do Maury. It's just go behind the scenes and, there you go. You are the father.
So yeah, Jon Favreau gets a cameo. He's the director, but I've never mentioned that, but Jon Favreau directed this.
I completely forgot that. Like, I knew it at some point, and then I forgot about it, and then I'm like, oh my god, Jon Favreau's in this. And he directed it. What the hell is... This guy made Iron Man 5 years later. This guy started the MCU.
Yeah, it's actually kind of... It shows you how long that's been going, though, that it's only 5 years away from that, but this is 22 years old. It's like, oh, wow, the time is just accelerating an alarming rate, and I'm very disturbed by it.
I can't remember when it was, but I think Marvel did like a 10 years thing when they hit the 10-year anniversary.
Yes.
The moment they hit like 2025, I'm just going to hang it up. I'm done. Like, there's nothing else to continue. It's too old at that point.
3 years.
I know. Stop it.
It's 3 years until it's 20 years old. Just brace yourself for it. It's happening.
I just need to see the logo. As soon as they change the logo to something special, that's what's going to be like, oh no. I'm going to age like, oh god, I can't remember which character it was, but in Indiana Jones 3, I think. Just like the very rapid onset aging.
Oh, yeah. It's the end of the third one, yeah. He drinks from the wrong cup.
Right. That's going to be me as soon as I see that logo.
Yeah. Most people share the Saving Private Ryan gif where it transitions to him as an old man.
That'll imply I'm still alive at the end. I don't want that. I want to show like I'm going to dust.
Oh dear. So I mean, from here, honestly, it is just a series of like different jokes or set pieces. Like he's made them all breakfast, but his breakfast is all candy, but spaghetti, because they made spaghetti for dinner the night before, so he knows spaghetti's a thing now, even though he only usually eats sugary things. He puts syrup on his spaghetti, so when he makes breakfast for them, he makes spaghetti, but pours maple syrup all over it. When he's having some, he has the spaghetti, but he puts like M&Ms, he puts Pop-Tarts on top of it, broken up, along with syrup, and he gobbles it down. It's disgusting. It's the whole thing. That's like a big chunk here. There's also the continued kind of trying to bond with the son, the little brother, I guess I should say. What's his name?
Michael?
That sounds.
He was yelling it over and over because he met up with the son, thinks that he's weird, but then one day Buddy just sits outside his school and waits for him to get out, and then as they walk through the park, all of a sudden they are accosted by a gang of snowball throwing delinquents, and Buddy shows off his elf stamina and snowball making ability.
He's not the only person who showed off his elf stamina too.
I really don't like how you're harping so much on this in-between scene of like, how did a baby happen?
I mean, I know the science of how it happened. I'm just him.
Yeah. Him specifically
doing it is baffling to me, but that's fine.
It's the same questions you don't ask about like the movie Big. You ignore those things and you try not to think about it.
No, that's not happening. So yeah, I mean, he obviously once the snowball fight happens, Michael's like super on board. He's like, yeah, let's go do Christmassy things. Let's go jump on mattresses at the department store. Let's go do this or that. And that's when he ends up going back to see Zooey Deschanel, and Michael's like, hey, do you like her? You're staring at her. And Michael basically talks him through asking her out on a date. And yeah, there's a lot of like tripping over words and asking stupid things like, do you like food? And nonsense like that. But she ultimately agrees to go on a date with him, which...
there's one bit to that scene that just threw me for a loop. Was he's explaining to Buddy like how to ask a girl out on a date, and Michael explains it of like, yeah, you just like ask her if she wants to get some food or whatever, and if she says yes, then you're in. It's kind of like a secret code thing. I'm like, what do you mean a secret? She says yes and it's in. That's the most odd. Like, that's just having a date. That's not a code. What are you talking about?
I think he was alluding to like, not necessarily sex, because he's probably too young to be thinking like that. But like, I think it's like you're in, as in,
and she likes
as
you?
in you're going to kiss, you're going to make out, or something like that. I think that's what he means. It doesn't mean you're in as in you're into the date. You're in as in you're going to get some action. I think that's what he means by that.
All right. If so, it didn't come across. I didn't get it. It just felt weird.
I'm not defending it, but I think that's what he was getting at.
All right, because it results in a joke where he's fumbling over his words, and then as she asks for clarification, he's like, the code. Wink.
Yes, the code. And then just to sort of wrap up with it, that takes a little bit later, but just to sort of get it out of the way, because then she disappears till the end of the movie. They go out, but he's not planned anything, so he just like shows her the beauty of a revolving door, takes her to the best coffee in the world, which is actually not that good.
It's literally everything that he did in the opening sequence. He comes across the coffee place, he brings back coffee place, revolving door. We're just doing all that again, with the big thing being that he's going around finding Christmas trees in New York, and he's all impressed by them. And she
knows a bigger one to show him.
Right. Yeah, they go down to, God, I can't remember where it is.
Rockefeller Center?
Yeah, that sounds right. Rockefeller. And, the childlike wonder in his eyes manages to spark her dead heart, and she's actually having a good time now.
Yes. And they end up kissing. Well, he kisses her in the cheek, and then she says, "You missed." And he's like, What do you mean miss? And then she kisses him on the mouth, and he's like, "Oh, that's the best. Let's do that again." And then, yeah.
And then 9 months later, they had a baby.
They didn't conceive that night. What are you talking about? He's not even gotten to tongue yet. Never mind any other.
I was going to say, you missed the extra cut, the X-rated cut, where she says you missed, and then just pushes down the
head. Ironically, if he was an actual elf size, that would have been more useful.
I will say, end of the movie, when it's revealed that they're married or whatever, they have a kid, and she comes up and she pours Papa Elf some milk, and he says thank, and she's like, "Oh, no, not a problem, Papa." And I'm like, it sounds weird to just say Papa. You can't just say Papa.
She's all on board though. She's dressed like an elf. She's come to visit the extended family. She's all about it. So that's going.
She loves the culture.
Yeah. So you've got that going on. The plot with the dad, with James Caan, is that his boss is upset about the book missing the pages. He thinks it's a big deal, and he wants a new pitch for a new book for the next quarter because the numbers are down. And he wants the pitch on Christmas Eve. And even James Caan's like, "That's Christmas Eve. I got other stuff to be doing." But he's like, "Nope, you need to do it." He's like, "Fine, I'll get it done." So he's got a couple of men that he works with that come in and try and pitch him, but they've got nothing. They're just like, "Oh, you're going to love the idea." "Well, what is it?" "You're going to love it, trust me." "Well, go on then. We call in someone else who's good with story ideas." We call it, and that ends up being Peter Dinklage later on, where he's the one who comes in, and they do the whole thing where it's like a reveal, because I recognize his voice on the phone. I'm like, "That's Peter Dinklage," right? So I'm expecting him. But they do a whole thing when he arrives where like you don't see him at first because he's small on the counter, and it's like a reveal that he's little, and then he's coming in and he's like, "Oh, these story ideas are that's bad. Vegetables are too vulnerable.
Everyone's pushing for small town rural. It's gonna get fogged out in the noise. You got to have something big, something original." But
Buddy comes smashing into the scene during this at one point and calls him an elf, which obviously is taken as, oh, he's insulting the fact that you're small. That's how he takes it.
He takes it in stride for like the first 2 times. Like he says something about being an elf, and James Caan's like, he's mentally unsound. Don't worry about him. Ignore him. And like he tries to continue on with the pitch, but Buddy just keeps going. He's like, "Did you have to borrow a reindeer to get down here? Does Papa Elf know you came down?"
So Peter Dinklage like runs up on the table and starts beating the shit out of him, and it's a whole thing. And he storms out, of course, without giving his ideas, and that's it. Although he leaves his little black book behind, so they end up just stealing one of his ideas, and that never comes up as like a plot point of like, oh, that was a little, unethical to do that, but
they never actually got it to publishing, I guess. So whatever.
That's true. He never pitched it. That's right, because obviously his big dramatic choice to like leave it, because the whole thing is as Michael was saying, oh, Dad's a horrible dad because he cares too much about work. So he's like, no, I'm going to I yelled at Buddy after this fight with Peter Dinklage. I told him to leave and never come back. So when Michael shows up and says he's left, Dad, I want to find him, he's like, you know what? Hell with this job. I'm going to go find my son. And Christmas cheer was had by all.
The sequence where he chews Buddy out and tells him, like, I don't care about you, I don't care you're my son, anything like that. Like, he goes hard. But apparently what happened behind the scenes was right before they filmed, Jon Favreau walked up and whispered something into James Caan's ear. And then they filmed the scene in one take. He only needed one shot to get that. And when asked later, like, what did he whisper? It was, just remember, you're Sonny effing Corleone. And it's like, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
Pull on your Godfather experience for this sequence, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Go hard. Don't worry about the kids. They'll deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we skipped over some stuff. I mean, you kind of brought up the whole, because there's a whole section in the middle where it's like, hey, like, we can't leave him alone because he's destroying the house. He's doing stuff with the young kid. Take him to work. So he has to take him to work. He puts him in a business suit. All the rest of it. He ends up in the mailroom. He apparently spreads Christmas cheer even more when he's on booze because he thinks it's syrup, and he pours booze into the coffee to try and make it taste better because he thinks coffee sucks. It's the only thing I find relatable about this man, quite frankly.
Oh, absolutely. Coffee's horrible. I'll stand by you with that. The one bit that I love is he's talking to a guy who's there on work release. Like, he's clearly just like this jaded criminal or whatever. He gets the booze from him, and then they start, like, they lay back. It looks like they just smoked a blunt or something. Like, they don't seem drunk. They seem high. But regardless, they're both just laying back in some mail carts. And I don't know if it's improv or if it was written, but I love the fact that this guy goes like, yeah, man, I got some good ideas, but no one listens. I'm 26. I'm in the prime of my life. And he looks like he's 40 something. Like, it's such a tiny little thing.
I also noticed that 26 seemed to be lowballing the age a little bit.
Right.
So I'm like, geez, I look better than you do.
Got to take care of yourself. Don't go to jail.
Apparently, yes. Don't go to jail. And don't drink during the day when you're supposed to be at work. Maybe your liver's probably taking a hammering.
I mean, I could do like 50% of things, and nobody's perfect.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, all this is kind of sprinkled in there throughout, and there's more of his eating antics and whatnot. But I mean, obviously, once we get to the actual plot of the third act, it's that Buddy is on his way out of the city, and it's Christmas Eve by this point, and he looks up and he sees Santa's sled, which is starting to lose control, and it comes down in Central Park. And this ends up being the plot of the last chunk of the movie, is that Buddy's going to run to Central Park, try and help Santa, because he's the one technical elf that's there to go and fix the engine. But meanwhile, you're kind of expecting, no, it's going to be the Christmas cheer that's going to end up getting it flying again, because ultimately...
Right.
And they do this thing where the horse police, like squad...
The Central Park Rangers.
That was the name, yes. The Central Park Rangers are treated like they're horror movie villains for some reason during this section. I don't know what was going on there, but...
Yeah, there's a whole bit where they say, like, okay, so everyone saw something crash in Central Park. Everyone starts, like, main plot. The father, Michael, and Buddy all start converging on it. But then they have a news reporter lady who we keep cutting back to that's just kind of relaying, like, what are people seeing? What are people doing? But then eventually they say, all right, everyone's been cleared out of the park, which means the Rangers get to ride. And and it's as they're showing, like, everyone doing their, like, getting ready sequence up on the horses. It's just like, they don't see a lot of action, but it's said that when they do head out, they have very specific, very dangerous meetings.
Yes,
and no one has quite forgotten the Simon and Garfunkel concert of 1985.
Yeah, they're still under investigation for their excessive force or whatever it was in 1985. That was that was the detail.
And then, honestly, the part I love later on is after everyone's converged, Buddy is talking with Santa and all that. Santa hears the horse neighing, and he goes, "Oh crap." it's the Rangers. Like, he even knows that they're bad news.
Yeah, and obviously James Caan and Michael end up in the park as well. They see Santa. But obviously Michael's kind of believing it quite quickly. Santa whips out his big book, the naughty nice list, and he's like, hey, this is what you want for Christmas, a skateboard, specifically this type of skateboard. Look in the bag, and sure enough, the skateboard's there. So Michael actually runs off with the book out into where the press lady is. And
yeah, they specifically say at this point, because he even brings up, he's like, there's cameras out there. If all you need is for people to believe in Santa, go in front of the cameras. And Santa's like, no, it's not a seeing is believing thing. It's a faith thing. You got to believe in Santa without having seen me. That's the key to Christmas spirit.
Yeah, but he runs out with the book, and he goes up to the news lady and says, hey, it's Santa. It's Santa's sled. Santa's real. This is his book. Here, I'll prove it. And he starts just reading out random names and what they want for Christmas, and it cuts to these people in their homes being like, what? That's right. Or what? And the little girl from the doctor's office is there. There's a guy who wants something silly, and all of his friends at the bar look at him, and he's like, oh, it must be someone else with that name.
Yeah, it's like Dave whatever wants an all-day spa treatment, and then it just cuts to him. He's like, there's a lot of Daves. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, interesting you picked your name for the example there.
Pete, I still haven't received your gift, and I'm kind of waiting on it.
You want to date the spa, do you? Is that what you're looking for?
Hint.
And then he's like, hey, reporter lady, what's your name? And she's like, it's so-and-so. And he looks her up, and he's like, oh, you want an engagement ring for your boyfriend to stop stalling and finally make a commitment? And she's like, like,
I wonder how that scene would go differently if he flips open the page to her name and she's like, oh, you were naughty. You're not getting anything.
I don't know. I feel like that's a weird thing to say to a woman. It's like, you were very naughty. Like, just
very naughty girl. Honestly, this entire reporter sequence is a bit weird to me because they give it a strange amount of
there's
depth.
A lot of there's a whole section where this random guy is like one of the people she talks to. And his whole thing is that only 10% of what he says is actually answering the questions about what he saw fall into the park. The other 90% is like, oh, I think you're great, Carol. I think you're the best. Like, you've got a great, you're my favorite reporter. You've got great eyes and such a beautiful mouth. And she's like, oh, thanks. And I'm like, okay. Sure.
And like every once in a while they cut back to the in-studio anchor as well. And like, he's doing backstory for this reporter of saying like, well, hey, I know it's your first big report with us and you're coming to us to New York and you used to be in Buffalo. I'm like, why are we focusing on this tertiary character so much?
Yeah, I don't know. But obviously Zooey Deschanel is at home eating ramen, and she sees on the news this is happening, including a quick snippet of Buddy, like he's the Sasquatch, right?
Bigfoot, same pose, everything.
Yeah, walking through the trees. So she gets down there, and the only big sort of character thing they pay off with her is that, and this is very, very thin, it's not that well developed, but she, at the start of the movie, when Buddy first met her, he basically said something to do with singing, right? And she's like, no, I can't sing in front of people. And he's like, it's no different than singing on your own. And she's like, no, it's very different. And then that led into the shower scene where she's singing in the shower and he joins in. Here, to try and bring the Christmas spirit to everyone, she stands up in front of the crowd next to the reporter lady and starts saying Santa Coming to Town.
The best way to spread Christmas cheer is to sing out loud for all to hear.
But she starts singing, and Mary Steenburgen joins in, and everyone else starts joining in, blah, blah, blah. And as this is happening, the sled is taking off. The rocket ends up hitting off the roof of something and goes flying, so there's no rocket power anymore. So just as Santa's sled comes out over the crowd, their cheer kind of sends the meter up to full. And
well, James Caan specifically was not singing. Yes. He was just mouthing along. And when the kid finally calls him out on it, says like, you got to actually sing, Dad. That's what gives him that last little oomph to get up in the air.
So the sled flies out over the city. All this crowd clearly see it. But the reporter lady's so awestruck that she never actually like says anything about it or like tells the camera guy to look at it. So then it's like, it goes back to the in-studio reporter and he's like, and we'll never know what happened in Central Park on Christmas Eve. And it's like, oh, so this is how they're keeping the secret of Santa. That okay, this crowd saw him, but like there was no footage, there was no evidence for it.
New York is a famously underpopulated city that does not have a lot of people out at night, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So I mean that's basically the end of the movie. You know, it goes back to the narration. He's like, oh, you know, everything's all happy. Buddy's got a son or a baby with Zooey Deschanel. They're visiting.
The father got fired for not doing the pitch, so he started an independent book company and he published a book about Buddy.
Because he kept telling people about his journey, so he turned that into a new child's book. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
remember, kids, monetize your hobbies. It's the best thing to do.
I agree wholeheartedly. And that's basically it. That's the movie. Christmas is saved, and that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think, like Buddy's involvement, funnily enough, in the last chunk of the movie isn't actually that important, because at that point it is all about the other characters who are going to spread the Christmas cheer. You know, it's about James Caan putting on Santa's coat to distract the horsemen, which to be honest doesn't even work that well. They just run past them, but he tries. So it is what it is. Zooey Deschanel singing to get everyone going, and then that stuff is perfectly good Christmas movie fodder for the end of your Christmas movie, to sell the idea that everyone's getting in the spirit and that saves Christmas. That's all perfectly fine. Yep. But the hour of comedy before that, I don't really like. So there you go.
Yeah, I honestly feel like this is a movie, strangely enough, of 3 parts, and it kind of is the acts, but the acts don't feel like they flow that naturally into each other. Where you have, I would say, the first act, you could say it ends when he goes out of the North Pole and goes to New York, but I would actually put it much later, at the point where he's brought into work with his dad the first time. I think that up until that point, all of the comedy is just kind of the fish out of water comedy of him going around doing different things, being outlandish and whatever. After that, you get what I would say is the second part, which is more focused on the interpersonal stuff. It's more focused on like how he's building these relationships up and doing whatever. And then the moment it goes to the sequence of Santa crashing, it's just entirely like, all right, now we're doing standard save Christmas plot. And we're paying off a little bit of the friendships he's made along the way, but it feels so separate from everything else because there's nothing to set up that Santa is going to crash at this point. Like, it just happens.
Yeah. It's almost like it's got 4 acts in a way, because I really do think, specifically when he actually goes to see his dad, that feels like an act break to me in a lot of ways. So maybe you could split into 4, but not that that helps or hurts it necessarily. It's just kind of
I mean, it could have as many acts as it wants. It's all about whether or not it feels like it is flowing as like a natural story. And I think that there are just few too many disjointed moments.
No, I agree with that. I will say I watched this, in 4K. The transfer is very nice, very colorful, very vivid. So I mean that's good, if nothing else.
Yeah. I honestly felt, I mean, I know you were saying before how, like the Santa Claus, their North Pole is very whimsical, very big and bright, whatever. I felt like the North Pole scenes in this one, comparatively, were very gray and drab. Like, there's not a lot of color to where they're working in.
No, but all their outfits are very colorful. So, which I think is the point, is they all pop against the sort of white backgrounds kind of thing.
True. It works more visually. Yeah. It lets you lock in on the elves rather than just a blur of color, but it just didn't feel whimsical. It felt like you're in Santa's shack.
Well, it was whimsical whenever we went outside, because you had that sort of really fake outside with the little stop motion, like snowmen characters and stuff. So they were going for like whimsy in other ways, but
the Rankin Bass stuff, yeah.
So hey, is what it is. All right, David, what are you rating Elf out of 10?
I came into this with a certain number in mind, but I think I've actually probably adjusted it, and strangely enough, not downwards. I don't think you affected me as much. And mainly that's because during the ratings rundown, I was forced to put actual numbers to this, and they were higher than I expected. That's not to say that I have to adhere to that, but, some of the parts, I guess. So collectively, I think the biggest failing of this movie is the long-term aspect of the comedy. I think it worked at the time. It doesn't quite hold as well nowadays. But in terms of like Christmas cheer and spirit and all that sort of stuff, it's such a basic plot. It's impossible to mess up, and it works in that regard. So overall, I think I'm actually going to come out of this one with a 7.
Yeah, it's a bit rich for my blood. I'm not going to lie.
Yep. I was going into it with 6.5, but I was like, you know what? There's actually something there. Gets a little higher.
Yeah, I feel like the ceiling for me here is a 6, but if I'm being honest, like my disinterest as I'm watching most of it is probably a 5.5. I feel like a 6 suggests that I like it a bit too much than more than what I actually felt, so I'm going to say 5.5. Based on mostly gut feeling, but I don't like Will Ferrell. I don't think he's funny, and so much of the movie revolves around him trying to be funny that it just isn't that pleasurable experience. Plus, we talked about some things not feeling like they build up all that much to the third act just kind of comes out of nowhere, and here we are. We're doing Save Christmas now. So,
Buddy literally walks up to the edge of a bridge, and I was like, are we doing a Wonderful Life thing? No? Okay, never mind.
Oh, hey, if this movie ended with him jumping to his death, and then we get this really kind of like dark ending, I'd be like, you know what? They've sold me.
My God.
They've sold me on it.
I just thought of the best recut possible. You take the scene where he's standing on the bridge and he goes, I don't belong anywhere. Fade to black, fade from black to the reporter, and just redub her with like, a body was found washed up on the shore today.
Hey, that'd be a better ending. It wouldn't make the movie good.
Yeah. It'd be a movie everyone would talk about. Every time. It's like, remember that Will Ferrell movie where he was dressed as an elf the whole time and then he killed himself?
Anyway, that's elf. I suppose we should put it in the collection or whatever. Yes. Or not, as the case may be.
I'm willing to put I'm willing to put a bet that you're coming down on the cut from the collection side of things, correct?
I would not have it, no. I would jettison it from the airlock and watch it drift into space.
See, I'm not in makes the cut territory, though, so it's not like we can even meet in the middle with cutting it close. I am at cutting it close territory, which makes it a problem. And I still haven't gotten your Christmas gift, so I think you owe me something here.
Do you want a violin playing or something? A sad story of how little David didn't get his Christmas present.
I just wanted in cutting it close. It's a tiny little thing.
Cutting it close. That's fine.
Aw, thanks.
If you'd argued for making the cut, I'd have told you to go F yourself. It would have been a giant uphill battle. But cutting it close, I can live with it.
Look, I know where to pick my battles most of the time. Sometimes you surprise me with where you dig in your heels, but this one I am absolutely aware I'm not making any headway on that.
Keep you on your toes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there you go. That's Elf. And that wraps up our little Christmas season. Obviously, Christmas is upon us if you're watching this when it came out. If you wait till after Christmas, then weird timing, but hey, hopefully you enjoyed the episode anyway. Yeah. So next week starts our next season of Collector's Cut, and we are once again returning to the pits of the disaster season, the disaster movies. This one's more of a mix. It's not a specific era. We're going to be jumping between. Part of that is because the first 3 episodes are all about meteors and they come from different eras. So that's fun. But yeah, that's not going to be the whole season. We've got like a good 7-8 episode season for you with different disaster movies. If you count the Airport franchise as disaster movie season 4, this is disaster movie season 5, our most well explored subgenre on Collector's Cut, which I don't know how that happened, but we're so in deep now, I want to get to the finish line.
Let's go ahead and just put the subtitle on there. Collector's Cut, a disaster of a podcast.
So yes, we have a whole host of them for you coming.
Yeah. There's also a vote at the end, so if you're not on Patreon, go to Patreon.
That's true. One of the episodes will be a vote. And speaking of Patreon, if you want to support the show, as well as the other shows we do, like the sci-fi podcast, Atomic Cinema Experiment, you can support everything over at Patreon or via YouTube membership and get access to the Ratings Rundown segments we do for each episode, get them a little bit early. And the main thing you get is once a month we do a show called Extra Reels where we review some of the worst movies ever made. So if that sounds like a good time and you want to see us get angry, laugh hysterically, get delirious, maybe question our life choices, then that's where you'll find that by and large. So that is that's everything I need to plug to you. So yes, Merry Christmas, all that stuff.
Merry Christmas.
That is the show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone to already supports us. We'll see you guys next time. Keep watching movies, and if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity. Like Santa!